Let me start by asking you a simple question. Yes or no? Do you believe a quiet rule change should be allowed to decide whether your nearest gas station, corner market, or a dollar store can keep accepting SNAP benefits? Think about that for a moment, because that is exactly what's on the table right now. A brand new USDA proposal could reshape where millions of Americans are able to use their SNAP cards. And while on paper it looks like a technical adjustment, in practice it could mean fewer stores in your community will be able to accept your benefits. Today we'll break this down in detail. We'll cover what the USDA is proposing, why it matters, who is most at risk of losing access, and what you can do before the public comment deadline on November 24th. Before we dive in, if you rely on clear explanations about Social Security, SNAP, Medicaid, Medicare, and other benefits, please like this video and subscribe to our channel, Social Security Post. That one click helps us reach more people who need this information most. The USDA has issued a new proposed rule that may look like a technical shift, but its consequences reach far beyond the fine print. If approved, the rule would raise the bar for what stores must carry in order to remain SNAP eligible. And when stores are forced to drop out of the program, families are left scrambling to find new places to shop. This isn't just about grocery chains, it's about the small town stores that keep entire rural communities fed. The risk is clear. When SNAP acceptance shrinks, people must travel farther, spend more on transportation, and endure less choice. For those in rural or underserved areas, the change can turn a 5-minute stop at a gas station into a 1-hour commute to a distant supermarket. For seniors, the disabled, and families already stretched thin, that's not just inconvenient, it's a barrier to food access itself. Here's the core change. Right now, stores must carry 3 varieties in each of the 4 staple food groups: dairy, protein, grains, and fruits and vegetables. The USDA wants to raise that to 7 varieties in each category and increase the share of items that must be perishable. They also want to change which foods actually count toward those categories. That may sound harmless until you realize how many small stores only just manage to meet the current requirements. Adding 4 more varieties per category and demanding more perishable goods means higher spoilage, tighter shelf space, and more financial risk. Big supermarkets can absorb that cost. A family-owned store in a food desert often cannot. The USDA released this proposal on September 25th, and it is open for public comment until November 24th. At the time this was first highlighted, only about 6 comments had been submitted, shockingly low for a rule with national implications. That means most people simply don't know it's happening. This is not the first time the USDA has tried to push through similar rules. In 2014, a nearly identical plan was floated. Critics called it vague and unworkable. And by 2019, after receiving more than 9,000 comments against it, the USDA shelved the idea. But this time, the language is more polished, the push is stronger, and it aligns with a broader trend of restricting SNAP usage toward more raw, staple ingredients. The burden falls hardest on small retailers, the gas stations, dollar stores, and rural groceries that provide everyday access in food deserts. These are the stores with limited refrigeration, fewer suppliers, and little financial room to add perishable items that might not even sell. If forced to carry 7 full varieties in each category, many may walk away from SNAP altogether. On the other hand, large grocery chains like Walmart, Aldi, and Kroger stores will likely remain unaffected. They already stock an enormous variety of perishables across all 4 categories and can easily meet the expanded requirements. For urban shoppers, the change may barely be felt. For rural households, it could mean losing the only nearby store that currently accepts their SNAP card. There are currently 2 main ways a store can qualify to accept SNAP. The first is the stocking test, which requires at least 3 varieties in each staple food category. The second is the 50% sales test, where stores can qualify if at least half of their sales come from one staple food group. For example, a butcher qualifies because most sales are meat, while a farm stand qualifies because most sales are produce. Most retailers, however, do not specialize in one category. Gas stations, dollar stores, and general groceries rely on the stocking test to stay in the program. That's exactly the path the USDA is making harder. Raising the threshold from 3 to 7 varieties fundamentally reshapes what these stores would need to carry to remain eligible. Under the old rules, stores could use some creative counting to meet their obligations. If they sold bread, bagels, tortillas, and rolls, those could all be counted as different grain varieties. Soups with rice could count toward grains, and plant-based milks could all be counted as different dairy products. This flexibility made it possible for small stores to meet SNAP rules without overhauling their inventory. Under the new rules, the USDA has made its intent very clear. They want to promote basic staple food essentials used in home meal preparation. That means dry beans, rice, flour, oats, fresh vegetables, and raw proteins. Multi-ingredient processed foods, like soup with rice or jerky snacks, will no longer carry as much weight. This pushes retailers toward raw ingredients and away from convenience foods. One of the most significant changes is how the USDA will treat bread. Instead of bread, bagels, tortillas, and rolls counting as 4 separate grains, they will now count as just one. A store will need to stock items like rice, oats, pasta, cornmeal, and barley to reach 7 varieties. Plant-based dairy options also face limits. Stores will only be able to count 3 plant-based milks, such as almond, soy, and oat, toward their dairy quota. Jerky products, except for certain whole muscle versions, will no longer count toward protein. Cheese sprays, jams, jellies, dips, and other spreads will also be excluded. At the same time, items like nuts, beans, and seeds will be reclassified as protein instead of vegetables, which could help some stores, but also complicates stocking strategies. It's important to stress that these rules are about where you can use your SNAP card, not what you can buy. Unless you live in a state with a separate waiver restricting soda candy or snack purchases, your eligible food list isn't changing right now. What changes is whether your local store still qualifies to accept SNAP. There are also clarifications that help. Pre-cut fruits and vegetables will continue to count as staples, not prepared foods. Salad bars will remain eligible so long as the customer assembles their own salad. Online orders will still be tied to store eligibility, meaning if a retailer doesn't qualify under the new rules, they won't be able to accept SNAP online either. The biggest risk of this rule is that it will deepen food deserts. Perishable goods are expensive to carry for small stores. They require refrigeration, regular turnover, and often don't sell in low-volume communities. Forcing a gas station in a rural town to carry 7 varieties of dairy, protein, grains, and vegetables could simply drive them out of the SNAP program. When that happens, families are left with impossible choices. Seniors who cannot drive, disabled shoppers who cannot travel long distances, and low-income families without reliable transportation will suffer the most. A rule designed to promote healthier food access could actually result in entire communities losing access altogether. Here's how it plays out on the shelf. Today, a small store could qualify for grains by selling bread, bagels, tortillas, and rolls. That's 4 different grain varieties. Under the new system, they would count as just 1, bread. To reach 7, the store would need to stock rice, oats, cornmeal, pasta, barley, quinoa, and more. That is a tall order for a corner market. Another example is soup with rice. Today, that counts toward the grain category because rice is a main ingredient. Under the new proposal, soups and other processed foods won't carry the same weight. Stores will be pushed toward stocking raw rice instead. The shift is clear, away from convenience toward raw ingredients. One thing to remember is that this proposal is about store compliance, not shopper restrictions. Unless your state has passed separate rules to limit sodas, energy drinks, or candy, what you can buy remains largely the same. The USDA is shifting responsibility to the retailers, not rewriting the list of approved items. Large grocery stores will continue to qualify easily. Walmart, Aldi, Kroger, and other major chains already meet or exceed the proposed requirements. The real pressure falls on small stores that operate in underserved areas. For them, the difference between 3 and 7 varieties could be the difference between participating in SNAP and walking away. The most powerful thing you can do right now is submit a public comment by November 24th at regulations.gov. Be specific. The USDA pays attention to real-world impact statements. Tell them how far you would have to travel if your local store could no longer accept SNAP. Share whether you rely on a single gas station or dollar store to buy your groceries. Explain how this would affect seniors, disabled neighbors, or your community. You should also talk to your local store owners. Many of them don't even know this proposal exists. They can submit their own comments, explaining how costly it would be to add perishables or stock 7 full varieties in each category. The more detailed the feedback, the stronger the impact. Yes, you can still buy seeds and plants that produce food with SNAP benefits. Farmers markets are also generally safe since they qualify through the 50% sales rule and often offer double-up programs that stretch your dollars. No, you cannot use SNAP to buy live animals, except shellfish. And yes, online purchases will still depend on whether the retailer qualifies under the new standards. For seniors and disabled households, some states also offer simplified recertification, called ESAP, which can reduce how often you need to renew your benefits. This proposal may not change what you put in your cart today, but it will change what stores must keep on their shelves tomorrow. For large grocery stores, this is no problem. For small-town retailers, this could be devastating. The real risk is not fewer snack foods, it's fewer stores where your card even works. That's why it's important to pay attention and speak up before the November 24th deadline. Because once a local store walks away from SNAP, it's very hard to get them back. So, let me ask you again, yes or no? Do you think it's fair for the USDA to require every SNAP store to carry 7 varieties in each food category, even if that forces small stores to stop accepting benefits? Share your answer in the comments, because your perspective matters. And if this breakdown was helpful, please like this video and subscribe to Social Security Post. We'll continue bringing you clear, timely updates on SNAP, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and other vital programs that impact your family. Stay informed, stay prepared, and don't forget, you have a voice in this process.